I know the name of this video is slightly cheesy. Starting a dealership at 26, I don't think it's that impressive.
Guys, I'm officially a car dealer.
Today's video took an unexpected turn. I think we should be friends. I don't really know where I'm supposed to enter. We got a giant tow truck here. Whoa, this is fun stuff. So you guys are trying to get rid of all of this? You know, you don't have to title them to yourself, they don't pay taxes. I've been waiting for this package for a month now. For some reason, it is this that is so much more meaningful to me than the actual license. I received the license itself, like the physical paper license, probably like 2 or 3 weeks ago. And that was exciting, but it wasn't as exciting as this. For some reason, I don't know why. I don't know why this means so much more to me. Ta-da! Guys, I'm officially a car dealer. I have been for the last month or so, but this is awesome. I'm getting goosebumps. Welcome to the channel. If you're new here, I do a lot of European car rebuilding and fixing and selling. Selling is something I've been doing for a little while. I would say maybe 2 to 3 years. After I moved out of my parents, I started doing car stuff a lot more. I had the spare room in the driveway, so I was buying cheaper cars, fixing them up, selling them, and many of them have been on this channel. And then about 5 months ago, I moved to the state of Wisconsin from Illinois, and I started renting the shop. It's nothing really fancy. I mean, it's got a lift, which has been a fantastic thing to own. Helps me out with a lot of things. I don't think I would have gotten nearly this intense in terms of working on cars if I didn't have a lift. And then I wouldn't have been able to do it in my driveway, because ever since we moved, our driveway size significantly decreased and it's super cold. I don't want to be working on cars and doing this out in the driveway or a cold garage. So once I got the shop, I didn't really expect to do this for like a year after getting the shop, but I ended up applying for a dealer license, because a physical location where you can do business out of is probably the main thing that's holding people back in terms of doing this. And in today's video, I'm going to go over everything I had to do step by step in order to open my dealership. So this isn't my official sign or anything. This is the remains of it. I had to take the lettering off. There's supposed to be a space here and here. But yes, my dealership is called G Rows of A because I only do, well, mostly do European vehicles, and that's what I'm passionate about. Probably a lame name, but don't judge too hard. I'm doing my best here. Okay, so today's video took an unexpected turn. Let me explain. Initially, this was going to be a regular step-by-step. I was going to go home, record it while doing some desktop videos and going through the forms and stuff that you need to fill out for your dealer's license. I just realized how hard it is to film and drive a manual car at the same time without a tripod. That's where I'm going right now. I'm going back to my shop to get my tripod. And I know the name of this video is slightly cheesy. Starting a dealership at 26, I don't think it's that impressive. I'm positive there's thousands of people who have done it earlier than that, right? And funny enough, today we're going to be meeting up with somebody who did it at 25. He's still in the process of getting his dealer's license, but he's on the right track. He's almost there. Him and his partner. So a little throwback. Like I mentioned, location is one of the first things you're going to need if trying to get a dealer's license. The thing is that you need to have local permits to open a dealership. Most states, I'm assuming, would require you to get a approval from local officials regarding your place of business and the village permits. That's exactly what I had to do myself. So one of these units, this guy, is my dealership. I know it doesn't look like much. This is not what most people would imagine when you refer to a dealership. We have a lift, we have a few cars. You already saw this. Anyway, so once I got this place and I decided to actually open a dealership here, I needed to get local zoning permits, which included me going to the village town hall during this committee meeting, and they presented the idea of the business being open here. They sent mail to a lot of neighbors around me, making sure that nobody has any objections to a car dealership being open here. Luckily for me, nobody did. They approved me. At that same town hall, I saw 2 gentlemen who were also doing the same exact thing. So there were only like 5 people total besides the actual village officials in that building, in that room. And two of them were younger guys, very similar age to me, and they're an older couple. I have no idea why they were there. Looked like they were just spectating. That's what it seemed like anyway. So there were two different businesses being approved, both of them being car dealerships. Me and those other two gentlemen. You know, I was just, oh, that's cool. I guess we got competition in town. Yesterday, I see this B5S4 for sale in my town. If you're not familiar, B5S4 is an older Audi, relatively rare, very tunable platform that a lot of car enthusiasts love, especially German enthusiasts. And I have one. And I saw this crazy build with a single turbo, built motor, built transmission, basically super cool car for sale in my town. So naturally, I do this little deep dive and research the seller of the car. And I noticed that he has a lot of car listings, that most of them are being sold. And I started picking up the same vibe as me. Looks like he resells cars, but the B5S4 was his personal car. And I noticed that the listing had said that he's selling it to fund his business. One of his other listings said that he has a shop and he was doing work out of there. And I was like, oh wow, cool. Like, this guy has a passion for the same cars as me. He sells cars on the side, he has a shop, and he has some sort of an automotive business. And I'm like, I gotta reach out. Like, I'm not interested in buying the S4, but I gotta reach out and maybe we'll be friends. So that's exactly what I did. I sent him a text and basically just introduced myself. I told him I also have a B5S4. I also have a automotive business, a dealership as of very recently, and I figured I think we should be friends because we're in the same town, and it's not a big town. We're in Wisconsin. And what do you know? He responds and he's like, dude, I remember you. You were in the same village town hall meeting. And I'm like, I know exactly who this guy is. That competition I was talking about, this is the gentleman that's into the same cars. He's also opening a dealership and we're practically the same age. So you guys are coming along with me as I'm on my way to meet this gentleman for the first time. We spent last night texting each other and getting to know each other and just talking cars and stuff like that. And we decided to meet up today. So I'm on my way to his dealership. We're gonna go check out his spot. He hasn't finished getting his dealer's license yet. He is still waiting for his inspection. I did that not too long ago. If you've seen my other videos, you'd know that. If you're interested, feel free to check that out. And I thought this would be a perfect opportunity for me to walk you through how the dealership process works, as well as showing different approaches, because he's definitely doing something different from me. The main difference is that he is doing this full time. He's been flipping cars full time. He doesn't have another job. As far as I understand, like, I haven't gotten too many details, but I know that he's doing this full time. Secondly, they have this massive building. Compared to my tiny little shop, his building is significantly bigger and significantly cooler. But yes, main thing is that he's doing this full time. I am not. I have a full-time job. I'm a civil engineer by profession. That definitely interferes with me, with the amount of cars I'm able to sell and resell and fix, just because I don't have that kind of time. So we're gonna go see what it's like having a significantly larger operation. Based on Google images of the address, he has so much space. They have an actual lot. They have a large building with multiple bay doors. So I think this is going to be a great meeting. This is going to be, I think we're going to be really good friends. We seem to get along. I noticed that his Facebook profile is highly rated as a seller. He's got like 4.7 stars or something like that. And I respect that because I try and do the same thing. I currently have a perfect rating of 5 stars. But I have significantly less sales than him. I'm at only 12 reviews and I think he's at 27, which is significant for Facebook Marketplace. I know it doesn't sound like much, but on Facebook Marketplace, people don't really spend a lot of time reviewing. So 27 is significant in my opinion. And the fact that he strives to satisfy his customers' needs and have good ratings, that means a lot to me because I know what it takes. By the way, you haven't seen this car on the channel yet. This is a B5A4 that I picked up recently. I needed something to drive because the B5S4 was just not doing it for me. It's got no heat, it's been super cold, and it just has multiple other issues that make me very nervous driving it around and relying on it for daily transportation. So I bought this thing with 220,000 miles, a 5-speed manual, and a decent amount of body damage. I mean, it's not pretty on the outside, I gotta admit. Well, his place should be just down the street. We're getting very close. Yep, I think this is it right here. And there's that B5S4. Let's see. I don't really know where I'm supposed to enter. They got a giant tow truck here. Whoa, this is fun stuff. Let's see. and there's his B5S4. That's how we got in touch. Yeah, right. It's been awesome.
Did you check inside?
What's that?
Did you check inside?
Okay.
Because
Okay.
Very dirty. Been trying to clean it.
Makes sense.
Like,
Makes sense.
6 months. This is my car.
Okay. Nice. Another B5S4. Hell yeah.
Yeah, I just kind of hit the bumper like.
Oh, did you just buy it? I remember. Isn't this the one that was for sale in Appleton very recently?
Yeah.
It is.
Honestly,
Okay.
I've been trying to sell the car.
Oh,
because
so you've been selling it.
we
Okay.
need
So it's
money
your.
for the business.
I see. PT Cruiser. Okay.
Nothing special. So another room here.
Nice. How many garage doors do you have?
One,
The-
2.
Three.
two,
Okay.
three,
Okay.
four.
Nice.
There's another room over there.
Okay. Okay.
It starts, but goes in a limp mode. When I plug it in, doesn't
Huh.
want to start.
I see. Yeah, I honestly have zero experience with BMWs.
My
I
first
haven't.
time experience in the Beamer, yeah.
Really?
Always working
Okay.
on
Yeah.
that.
I've always been doing VAG cars too,
But,
so I
yeah,
haven't.
These are like very
Nice.
too many electronics, man.
So where do you guys buy your cars? Just
Facebook
private
market, basically.
Facebook Market.
We
Okay.
got this one from the Minnesota. Basically, we go Minnesota all the time.
I see. Huh.
They
Okay.
have really good cars over there.
Really?
All the Audis, good deals. We
Makes
get
sense.
from
Makes sense.
maybe this
Have you ever done any Copart or anything like that?
Mm,
No?
not yet.
Okay. Because Minnesota, you don't have to have a dealer's license to buy from Minnesota. At Copart, you can buy at auctions from Minnesota without a license.
Well, I heard too many competition. In the
Yeah,
Copart,
yeah, it's probably more expensive. Yeah. So you guys are trying to get rid of all of this,
Yeah,
all that you
some
have
of the
here.
Vehicles are not ours, like this camper and this trailer.
Uh-huh.
These 2 cars like belong to someone. We
Oh,
waiting for
okay.
him to take his stuff. Also, these cars are belong to old owner. All
Okay,
the cars over there.
I see. So
These
he's gonna get rid of them himself.
You work on the Audis, Volkswagens, right?
Yeah, that's pretty much all I ever do. I did one Kia once that I bought with some frame damage. I just kind of fixed up the body a little bit, and
Like Audis too. You have
yeah,
most
I think it's the best. Yeah, I am a big fan. Plus, like once I find that one focus, I feel like it's just better to focus on that instead of, because you can't know everything about all the other
yeah,
cars.
Yeah, exactly. And if you specify on something, it is
Exactly,
more
it's-
like more better.
Yeah, it's easier to you're just very familiar. Maybe immobilizer, something to do with that after the motor swap. I don't know.
Maybe. It's like time to learn, then we can. It's a learning process.
Right, exactly. Yeah, that's
Once
kind of
it
why I
starts good,
stick to
yeah.
one brand, because then like you have to learn everything from the beginning
Yeah.
every time. So all of this is just going to be forms. All of this is going to be forms, and all of them pretty straightforward. And once again, I'm not really sure what your situation is going to be like with the.
With the lease, yeah.
Yeah, so I don't know if you're going to be renting or if you're going to be owning, but either way, you have to provide documentation that you have a lease that allows business out of here.
And the lease has to be on the business name?
Yes, yes. And that's actually one thing I had issues with, and I had to go back and forth with the DOT because my lease, the landlord has like a bunch of different properties, and he only uses one lease for all of them, and they all have the same address on it. So basically, the DOT noticed that my lease had a different address than all my forms, so I had to get the lease changed. And your lease also has to be for at least 2 years. So if you are renting, you have to have a contract for at least 2 years. Sorry, am I talking too fast?
No.
Are you having it? Okay, sounds good. And if you have any questions down the road, feel free to reach out. It's really simple. Like I wouldn't. Once you send all that in, they do some processing, and then they're gonna forward all your stuff. Once the DOT does everything, they're gonna forward all your stuff to the field unit, which is the guys that do the inspections. So they're gonna give you a call and see when they can schedule the inspection. The guy's gonna come by, and it's honestly, I don't know if you saw the video. It's just an instruction. Like it's a training basically.
In the office the whole time. Did he come in the
Yeah, no, he doesn't really check anything except for a sign, and like those are the only requirements. Like you see the business facilities statement. He basically just makes sure that you have this. So the 12 by 20 office area, as long as he can see all that, and which he is gonna see right off the bat as soon as he pulls up, so you're gonna be fine. And yeah, he just walks you through. Just a heads up, there's a lot of paperwork every time you sell a car. So there's like a lot of bonuses to like being a dealer. You don't have to title them to yourself. You don't pay taxes. But every time you sell a car, you have to do a purchase contract. You have to reassign the title, and you're required to assign a title yourself. So you're going to be doing you know, whenever you buy a new car, you title everything to yourself.
Yeah.
So you're going to be doing that for your buyers. You're required to do that for your buyer in Wisconsin. If it's an out-of-state buyer, it's a little different. It's a little easier, and it's all online. So the guy is going to set up an account for you. It's called EMV Public. It's a website where you would process all the titling, and you can print temporary plates. So that's pretty nice. You can do that for your customers.
So now we're on the way to my shop to check out my place. Obviously it's not going to be much in comparison to theirs, but they seem to be like great guys. Slightly behind on the paperwork side, which is fine. I understand for them this being a full-time thing, it takes a lot of work because they have this giant facility.
We came back to the shop, checked it out a little bit. My operation is definitely a little less interesting to look at. It was really great to meet these guys. So in terms of the business perspective and different approaches, their situation is definitely quite different. First of all, I think they're being really stressed out in terms of having to buy the property, collecting the down payment. So basically the situation is that they are currently renting the place for a very good price. Believe it or not, they're paying less for their place than I'm paying for mine per month for rent. However, the condition is that they're doing that up until they buy it. And honestly, the price for buying it is actually very competitive as well. Obviously, it is a pretty old buildings, and it did need a lot of cleaning, and needs a lot of work. I'm a little jealous. That would be very nice for me to come across. But at the same time, operating costs of such a large building would be significantly higher. For me, heating this tiny space up, it doesn't take much. I keep the furnace off up until I come in, and then it warms up within 10 minutes. But the thing is that I have no way of buying this. This property is not going to be for sale. It would be really nice to one day own a property where I can run a business out of, which is going to be the case in their situation. Considering the fact that they're trying to do this full time, I think it makes perfect sense for them to have that sort of property. In my case, I'm doing this on the side. I'm trying to be very safe in terms of my investments. As of now, everything that the dealership makes goes back into the dealership. So I don't take any payouts. I pay my bills out of my main job. So I'm a full-time civil engineer, and my salary pays for my living needs. So I'm not relying on this to make money, and even if I was, I mean, I would have been in a really hard situation because technically my business hasn't made any money yet. I think they didn't really do enough research, or they didn't know where to do the research on on how to get the dealer's license. So they started with the city first before even starting to fill out any of the forms. There's a lot of forms, and now we're going to get to the part of the video where I actually do a step-by-step of how to get a dealer's license, which these guys are actually going to refer to because they had a lot of questions, and I sort of walked them through it when I was at their shop. That's sort of what it turned into. Okay, so now that I'm back at the house, I'm going to try and record this with my two dogs. They're probably going to be an issue. You'll see what I'm talking about. So in the state of Wisconsin, the location requirements are pretty insignificant. What you have to have is an office area. There's no specification as to how big the office area has to be. So as long as you can fit a chair in there, ideally too, because when somebody comes for an inspection, they're going to be sitting side by side with you and showing you stuff on their laptop. So technically you do want some personal space when you were there. So ideally have, I don't know, I would say my shop is maybe 6 by 10, the office area. So nothing crazy, but you also need to have a display area, which needs to be 12 by 20 feet, which is, as far as I know, basically the size of a single parking spot. As long as you can fit one car, it should be enough for your display area. You don't have to have a large building, which is good. It helps out little guys such as me, or even smaller than me that only have one parking spot. It is plenty for you to get your dealer's license. I've even heard of situations where people used a storage unit for their dealership. Technically mine is a storage unit, but mine is big. You can use a single car storage unit as your dealership display area, and that would be enough as long as you have the office as well. And then depending on whether or not you want to do the servicing in your facility, you need to have a service area, and you don't want them blocking each other. So when they inspect you, if your service area is blocking your display area or vice versa, that would be an issue, and they are not going to like that. However, if you do not have the space, all you would need to do is have a written contract with a repair shop that is nearby. Again, it's not disclosed how nearby it needs to be, but As long as it's within reasonable distance, I think it'd be fine. Basically, it's a contract saying that you have a shop that will be doing your inspections, that will be checking your cars, that will be fixing your cars as needed, and that you have a written agreement with them that they're going to be your designated shop. Just make sure before you get the location set up, you want to make sure that you have the appropriate zoning, or at least the potential to get the appropriate permits to run an automotive business. Unfortunately, with automotive businesses, there's a few caveats that can make it harder because automotive businesses frequently mean disassembled cars, they frequently mean fluids, dirt, stuff like that. Basically, public doesn't really like to have automotive businesses right next to their houses because there's a lot of noises, or maybe even smells, or some sort of pollution. Keep that in mind. Make sure that when you are picking out your location before you sign the lease or buy or anything like that, you want to make sure that the village, the city, whatever, allows automotive businesses in that location. For example, in my case, my location is in commercial highway zoning. What that means is that it's not exactly permitted to have an automotive business there. However, they do allow it under exceptions, which is why I had to go to the village town hall and I had to have them approve it after presenting my case. Industrial zoning, for example, as far as I understand, you can do whatever you want there. So something to keep in mind, make sure you check what zoning you're in. You can find that probably on your villages or cities website. They usually have maps of what the zoning looks like. So let's say you have your permanent business location. You have your lease signed. You want to make sure that the lease is signed in the name of the business. That's not what I did in my case, because when I started renting my shop, I didn't really know that I was going to be doing a business auto there. I didn't know that I was going to be getting a dealer's license that soon. That was definitely in the works in my head, but I didn't expect it to happen within like 2 months of me starting to rent there. So my lease was in my personal name. However, it is a requirement that the lease is in the name of your business. So I just had to redo that. That wasn't a big issue. If you have a nice landlord, they're not going to have any problems with that whatsoever. You just re-sign a new lease under the name of the business and call it a day. You are going to have some differences between different states. This is for the state of Wisconsin. However, overall, based on the research I've done, they're pretty similar. Most states have very similar requirements, very similar procedures, and so on. So this should give you a decent baseline of what you need to do, even if you're out of a different state. So the state of Wisconsin offers a very useful, very nice checklist that you can use to figure out what you need to put in the packet that you send them with your dealership application. As you can see, the first thing on here is the dealer license application. This is the actual application that you're going to be using. Like, this is the backbone of what you're sending to them. Everything else is sort of supplemental. So I would say first step, get your location. Second step, start worrying about the paperwork. So the guys I just met with, they did it a little differently. Their first step was talking to the city and getting approval from the city, which is fine. I guess that actually did take me longer than anything else in the process. So I guess it's nice that they got that out of the way. But technically, you'll want to start researching the forms and all the paperwork first before you do that. Because even though they got approval, they never got anything signed, which comes into play on this dealer application. So I'll say this is the first thing you want to print out and start working on, and that's where you would enter your very basic information, such as your business name, your DBAs or trade names. You'll notice that in the upper right corner where we have the dealer's license number, you don't have to worry about that because you don't have a dealer's license yet. Don't worry about leaving anything blank. That's actually pretty expected on these forms, that you're going to have blank areas, especially if you're a brand new dealer or soon to be dealer. However, you should have the Federal Employee Identification Number, FEIN. That should come from your LLC paperwork, which, by the way, yes, if you are looking to do a dealership, you don't necessarily have to do an LLC, but I think that would be a good idea. LLC protects you in case the dealership goes bankrupt, for example. That way your personal finances are not affected. Like in my case, I have a full-time job. I have an income from that, and that is not going to get affected by whatever happens with the dealership if for some reason the dealership goes upside down. So on the dealer license application, you will specify what kind of vehicles you will be using. You will be specifying whether or not it's owned by an LLC. This is all pretty easy information here. Some stuff that you may not be familiar with, for example, right here, address of secondary sales, location in the same municipality. This is for people who have multiple lots. If you have multiple properties that are being used for a dealership, you don't want to have to get two dealer's license for both of them. This next section I'm not very familiar with. So this is for people who want to be lessors, meaning that they're going to be leasing out their cars. That's something I'm not doing. I'm not nearly there yet. That includes even more paperwork. That includes more fees that you have to pay to the Department of Transportation, the state, federal, whatever. And I would assume that most dealers that do leasing, they would just have a dedicated bookkeeper who takes care of all that, because I don't want to be messing with any of the leasing and financing stuff on my own. It's too much. I've already got my hands full wrenching on cars. Which is why I'm personally selecting the number one checkbox, which just says that I'm only selling cars on cash only basis and I don't do any financing or leasing. And on the right side, this is where you would be calculating your own fees. Some of them are already preset for you. They're $40 for the actual dealer license, which is not very expensive in my opinion. And then you have to pay $150 for your first two dealer plates, which is pretty expensive. However, every additional plate on top of that is only $10. So I did 4 plates for mine. Again, I have a very small operation. Even 4 is too many for me. I don't think I'm ever going to need that, but I did that just in case I do expand. Between those two, there is a few other charges that you might have to add to your check that you send to the registration fee trust. There's branch license and sublot license. Again, that's if you have multiple locations or multiple branches. And then there's the salesperson's licenses. We're going to touch on that later, but let's say you only have yourself working for your dealership, you only need to pay for one of them. If you do 2, like the guys I've just visited, they would have to do 2 salesperson licenses and pay $16, 2 times 8. Math genius. Next is the Wisconsin buyer license. What that allows you to do is to purchase things at wholesale price or purchase things with like exempt tax. I'm not really sure how the tax situation works. For example, in my case, FCP Euro is a website, a company that sells European car parts. And they're one of the biggest suppliers, and I think they're fantastic because they offer lifetime warranty on all their parts. But that is to individuals. They do not have the lifetime warranty for businesses, something to note. But they're great, I love them. And once I got my dealer's license, I reached out to them and I set up a commercial account, meaning that they provide wholesale pricing to me because I'm a business. And they also are not going to be charging sales tax, I think, because I haven't actually used this commercial account yet, but they're not going to be charging the sales tax because you're going to be selling the goods and services that you install in those cars. They're going to be going to your clients, the people who, your customers who are going to be buying your cars. So technically you're not retaining that, which is why I guess you are not obligated to pay tax on it. You're only going to be paying tax on the income you get from selling a car. And then buyer ID cards, that is very good to have. That allows you to have access to auctions. This is something I had to present to Copart in order to have my account verified as a commercial account, as a dealer, so that I'm actually eligible to purchase vehicles in Wisconsin from auctions. Because if you're not familiar, some states do not allow it, some do. There's actually less states that do allow it. There's Colorado, Minnesota, I think Oregon, but Colorado and Minnesota are the closest ones to Wisconsin as far as I remember. And that's where I've previously bought vehicles from in the past before I had a dealer's license. And again, this is dependent on the amount of people you are applying this for. The last parts of this section refer to dealers that are already in business and managed to lose their plates, and that's where you would list which plates you've lost or damaged and are requesting a replacement for. Now the second page of this is where the local zoning comes to play. This is what I needed to get signed by the local officials at the village. The top part you fill out yourself. It's your basic information about the business. And then the second parts are going to be for the local officials, and they're just going to put in their information and show proof, or basically sign and say that they had approved your application and they have no issues with your business being located where it is. I had them sign it on the spot. Excuse me. I usually don't talk so much, so my throat is having a hard time with all this talking. Entity owner statement basically tells the state who owns what. In my case, it was very simple. I'm a 100% owner of my business, of my dealership. If you have a 50-50 split with a different person, then you would specify that here. And this form has to be filled out for each person that is going to be owning the dealership. No, 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 no. What are you crying about? You seen squirrels? It's okay. It's okay. Hello, buddy. Well, this is something This is what I meant about, oh, yeah, just come on up. Why not? Why not? Yeah. You're a lap dog, right? Okay, just don't touch the tripod. Don't touch the tripod. Be a good boy. Yes, okay. Comfortable? Can I continue? Okay. You're going to want to list which other businesses you're engaged in and if you have any ownership interested in other businesses, as well as criminal charges pending against you. Basically, the state wants to make sure that you're in good character legally and don't have any major issues on your record. Next form on the checklist is the business facility statement. Also, probably one of the more simple forms there is in this packet. Basically, you're just going to be going over your facility and making sure that you fill all the requirements, which in reality is going to be hard not to. If you are renting and you have a lease agreement that you're including, the lease agreement must be for at least 2 years from the time that you're trying to get your dealer's license. Next one can be skipped because, like I mentioned, we are doing no agreements with other shops. We are doing all of our work ourselves, and we can skip the dealer service agreement. However, if you are not, all you gotta do is just get this filled out. Both of you put in your address, name, business name, phone numbers, and everybody signs, as well as 2 witnesses apparently. I never understood how the witnesses work. Can it just be any bystander? Can you walk up to somebody on the sidewalk and ask them to sign as a witness? Maybe. Again, next one we're gonna skip over. I'm not even gonna open this because this is a distributor certification of dealer. This is for people who have partnerships with Audi or Chevy or any other manufacturer and you sell brand new cars. I don't think anybody opening a brand new dealership is gonna be selling new cars unless they're already a millionaire, maybe. Salesperson/representative license is required for anybody who is going to be selling cars on behalf of your dealership or advertising cars, doing anything that leads to cars being sold. They need to have a salesperson license. This is the one thing that actually takes some time, and it's not as simple as just filling out a form. So in the state of Wisconsin, you have to actually get licensed, which requires you to pass a... Somebody wants attention? Hello. So this is what I meant about the dogs being crazy. They're about to tear each other to pieces. So yes, there is a test you have to pass, and in order to pass that test or take the test, you have to go to the DMV. First of all, there's a study guide available on the website, which is basically a giant PDF, a booklet that contains all the information that you're going to be tested on. So I recommend reading through that, which doesn't take too long. I think I spent maybe 1 or 2 days on it, something like that. Just reading through the whole thing, and while it was fresh, I right away went to the DMV and took the test. I barely passed. I'm not the greatest test taker. I have to be honest. I think I got the minimum acceptable score, which is very nice. If I gotten one more question wrong, I would have failed. So once you fill out all the information that you have on this form, you bring it to the DMV and you ask them to take the test. And once you pass the test, they fill out these few boxes at the top and send you on your way. Next one down the list is the salvage buyer identification card. This is not a requirement. It is optional, however, I recommend it. This is what allows me to purchase cars from auctions. Once this one is done, we can move on to the next, which is the buyer's license application. This is the thing that will allow you to be exempt from taxes and allow you to get wholesale pricing and that sort of thing. And again, the information is very, very basic. It's your dealership's name, your business name, your license number can be blank if you don't have a dealership yet. We're almost done. The last piece is the dealer bond. So the DOT does provide you with this form that you could fill out. However, it is not necessary because in order to get this bond, you would have to find a company that does dealer bonds. I just Googled dealer surety bond, and there's a ton of companies that offer them. And honestly, the applications for them are very simple. I can't even remember which company I used. Filled in my information, and it ended up costing $200 per year. So every year I am going to have to pay them $200 for this bond. And what this does is sort of protect my customers. So let's say somebody sues you for some sort of amount of money. Let's say it's $40,000. You or your business are unable to pay that $40,000. The surety bond is going to cover that, and they're going to make that payment to the customer or whoever sued you. However, you are going to have to pay them back. This is not like an insurance. It's not a full coverage. Next 2 items are just the fees that you're paying. You're just going to need to include 2 checks, the amounts for which were figured out on that first application that we were looking at in this box over here. So you're gonna do $120 check to DFI, and you're gonna do one check for whatever this amount came out to be to the registration fee trust. And just to top it all off, you'll want to have a copy of your articles of organization, or basically, this is basically an LLC document. You're gonna have that made up whenever you create an LLC. You do not have to include this if LLC does not own the dealership. But it's a very simple document. Honestly, creating an LLC itself doesn't take much time at all. I was completely all set with that within one day. I would say, I think it took me like 6 hours, just filling out forms, addresses, social security numbers, stuff like that. Nothing crazy at all, especially if you're only one person who owns 100%. It is very simple to do. So I would say that should be your first step if you want to start a dealership and you do not have an LLC just yet. I would say do the LLC stuff first. You can Google that. It's very simple. There's a ton of information about how to do this. And please don't pay somebody to do it unless you have some sort of a very complicated LLC with a bunch of different partners. It is very simple to do it yourself. I would not worry about messing it up. It's pretty simple. It's really hard to mess that up. So once you have all of that in paperwork together, you need to make sure that you make 2 copies of everything, ideally even more, but 2 copies need to be sent into the DOT, the Department of Transportation. All of those get stuck into a packet and mailed to the Department of Transportation. It doesn't take that long, but I think within like 2 to 3 weeks, they get their paperwork squared away. They review all of your paperwork, make sure that there's no issues, and if there isn't, they forward that to the field office, which is the guys that actually inspect all of the dealerships, and they're gonna have a person, an inspector or / investigator, come to your business, make sure that you meet all of the requirements, which again, there are not too many, and if everything looks good to them, they basically issue your license, and you just have to wait for it to come in the mail, as well as your dealer plates. The inspection itself wasn't actually as much of an inspection as it was a training. They just walk you through all the paperwork you have to do, which there is a lot of. If you want to learn more about the inspection, I have a dedicated video for that as it was happening at my dealership live. Don't get too excited. I didn't really get the interaction with the investigator because it was mostly a lesson and stuff about the paperwork. So I'd say overall this process was pretty easy. It took me a total of maybe about 2 to 3 months since I started filling out the paperwork till I actually received my license and my plates. There were some larger delays. The main one was waiting for the hearing with the village. They have those on specific dates, I think quarterly, so if you do happen to reach out to them at the beginning of the quarter, you are going to have to wait a few months for that hearing to happen, which can take some time. And then after that, I think the longest few weeks of my life was after I sent in the application and I was just waiting for the DOT to respond to me. Like I said, it wasn't too long, maybe 2 to 3 weeks, but it is some very long 2 weeks. Chances are they're gonna find some issues in your paperwork because they do go through it pretty thoroughly. In my case, it turned out that my lease agreement, which you do have to mail in, had the wrong address on it. So the DOT did pick up on that and they noticed that the addresses were matching up. So I had to email them a signed new lease with the correct address because they cannot have any corrections in the lease. They want a brand new lease. And on that note, I think we're all set. I hope you enjoyed this video. I wish you the best of luck with your dealership, assuming you're getting one, or if you're watching this just for your entertainment, then I hope you really enjoyed this. And if you did, please subscribe. Have a good day.